The moment I laid eyes on Alex, something inside me stirred, something I hadn't felt in years. It was just another mundane Tuesday at the office, the kind where the highlight of your day is choosing between the tuna or the chicken salad sandwich for lunch. But there he was, the new guy, Alex, with a smile that could light up the dimmest corner of our break room. Our chats, innocent at first, quickly found their way into territory that made my heart race in a way I'd forgotten it could. At home, things were different. Tom, my husband of 15 years, was as reliable as an old watch, steady, dependable, but lately, so immersed in his work at the garage that our conversations had dwindled to nods and murmurs about bills and what to have for dinner. I missed him, or at least, I missed the us we used to be. Our anniversary dinner was a quiet affair. Tom cooked spaghetti, my favorite, and we sat at our old wooden dining table, surrounded by the comfortable but worn edges of our life together. I tried to be present, to appreciate the effort, but my thoughts kept drifting to Alex, his laugh, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled. Guilt gnawed at me, but it was a moth against a flame I couldn't pull away. The very next day, I found myself crafting a lie about a sudden work emergency. Alex and I met up under the guise of overtime, but the only work done was on crossing lines I had never imagined I would. The guilt was there, a constant whisper in the back of my mind, especially when Tom, in his sweet, unsuspecting way, surprised me with concert tickets to see a band I'd mentioned liking once, maybe years ago. I accepted, my stomach twisted in knots, the ticket burning in my hand like a token of my betrayal. Communicating with Alex became a secretive art. Encrypted messages, deleted histories, whispers in the hallway. It felt like we were characters in some cheap thriller, but the thrill was all too real, too addicting. The weekend Tom went to visit his parents, I invited Alex over. It was a decision that marked the point of no return. Rationalizing it as a one-time thing made it easier, but deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. The house felt different with Alex there, charged with an energy that both excited and terrified me. Every step, every decision, felt like it was leading me further away from the woman I once was, from the life I had built with Tom. But in those moments, caught up in something new and intoxicating, I convinced myself it was worth it. Little did I know, the price of this new thrill was higher than I ever could have imagined, and the bill was coming due faster than I was prepared to pay. The moment I walk into the dimly lit bar, my heart starts doing gymnastics. Alex is already there, waiting, that familiar grin spread across his face. It's a rush, a dangerous thrill that I can't seem to get enough of. But as we laugh, leaning in closer than necessary, a voice cuts through the buzz of conversation, chilling me to the bone. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" Jenna, with her perfectly raised eyebrow, looks from me to Alex and back again. I stutter out something about a coworker outing, hoping my voice doesn't betray the panic setting in. She doesn't buy it, but she nods, leaving a silent question hanging in the air. Later, as I'm digging through my purse for keys, a piece of paper flutters to the floor. Tom picks it up, his brow furrowing as he reads the hotel receipt. "A conference, huh?" he asks, handing it back to me. I nod, fabricating details of a meeting that never happened, relieved when he seems to accept it. At home, things start slipping through the cracks. Dinner isn't ready when it should be, and the laundry piles up. Tom mentions it once, his voice laced with concern rather than annoyance. "Work's been crazy," I tell him, and he believes me, like he always does. He tries, though. Out of the blue, he suggests a weekend getaway, something to break the monotony that's settled between us. Guilt gnaws at me as I think of Alex, of the plans we've already made, and I find myself saying, "I can't, babe." There's this thing at work. The disappointment in Tom's eyes is palpable, a physical ache that adds to the growing knot of guilt. But then, Alex gives me a necklace, a tangible symbol of whatever we are, and I hide it away like a secret sin. It feels like betrayal, heavy and cold against my skin when I try it on later, alone. The whispers start not long after. At a company event, someone jokes about me and Alex, too loud, too knowing. Paranoia creeps in, thick and suffocating. And then there's the note, anonymous and foreboding, slipped into my desk drawer. "Be careful," it reads. I tear it up, telling myself it's nothing, even as fear tightens its grip around my heart. This secret life I'm leading, it's spiraling, moving too fast and too dangerously. But the thought of stopping, of giving up the intoxication that comes with every stolen moment with Alex, is a price I'm not ready to pay. Not yet. The moment I saw him, Alex, the new guy at the office, something clicked. Or maybe it was more like a detonation. Casual chats over coffee quickly spiraled into something I couldn't control. Being a middle-aged office admin doesn't exactly scream excitement, and with Tom, my husband, practically married to his job as a mechanic, the thrill was, well, non-existent. Our 15th wedding anniversary was supposed to be a milestone. Instead, as Tom and I sat across from each other at our dining table, the silence felt heavier than the fancy cutlery. My mind kept wandering to Alex, his jokes, his smile. I felt guilty, but the thrill was intoxicating. The very next day, I found myself fabricating a work crisis just to meet Alex. It was the start of our affair, a secret life I never imagined I'd lead. Tom, oblivious and ever so trusting, surprised me with concert tickets, a band I'd mentioned liking years ago. The guilt ate at me as I accepted them, my mind racing with excuses to meet Alex again. I started using encrypted messaging apps, thinking I was being smart, covering my tracks. It felt like living in a spy movie, except the stakes were my marriage, my life as I knew it. That weekend, with Tom away visiting his folks, I invited Alex over. Just this once, I told myself, a lie so blatant that it stung. My friend Jenna caught us at a local bar. She had that, "I know what you're doing, look." I brushed it off, saying Alex was just a coworker, nothing more. But Jenna wasn't fooled, and neither was I. Tom found a hotel receipt in my purse. His face, a mix of confusion and concern, shattered me. I lied through my teeth, blaming it on a work conference. He believed me, or at least, he wanted to. Home life became a blur. Dinners forgotten. Laundry piling up, work stress, I'd say, but Tom knew better. He tried, God, he tried. Planning a weekend getaway, trying to bridge the gap between us, but I cancelled last minute for Alex. The necklace Alex gave me ended up hidden in a sock drawer, a symbol of my betrayal. Company events became minefields. Offhand comments about me and Alex sent me into a state of paranoia. Then came the anonymous note, a warning about my affair. I tore it up, dismissing it as jealousy. As Tom worked late, trying to escape the chasm between us, I found myself spending more nights away, lying about work trips. Tom sought solace in a hobby group, a desperate attempt for connection outside our failing marriage. One night, I slipped up, calling Tom by Alex's name. I laughed it off as stress, but the look in Tom's eyes. I knew he didn't believe me. When he found the necklace and confronted me, I lied again, claiming it was from a friend. Despite my betrayal, Tom's efforts around the house didn't go unnoticed. He was trying, fixing things, making dinner, while I was tearing us apart. Alex wanted more, wanted me to leave Tom, but standing there, seeing Tom's efforts, I was torn, caught in a web of lies and guilt. Every step I took with Alex, every lie I told Tom, it was like walking further into a maze with no exit. The excitement I once felt with Alex was now overshadowed by a crushing weight of guilt in the realization of what I was about to lose. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to get caught in a whirlwind affair. Yet, here I was, tangled in lies, deceit, and a love triangle that felt more like a noose than a fairy tale. The more I tried to untangle myself, the tighter the noose seemed to get. I had convinced myself that ending things with Alex was the right move, that I could walk away from the exhilaration he brought into my mundane life. But every time I looked into his eyes, every plan of confession and repentance dissolved into nothing. "It's over, Alex. We can't do this anymore," I rehearsed in front of the mirror, but the conviction in my voice sounded as hollow as my resolve. When the moment came, standing in front of him, all my rehearsed lines melted under his smile, his charm pulling me back into the vortex of our secret world. Tom, my husband, the man who had been my rock, started to drift away, his trust eroding with each lie I told. I noticed the change, the late nights at the garage, the missed dinners, but I told myself it was just work stress. Deep down, I knew I was losing him, bit by bit, but the allure of my secret with Alex clouded my judgment. One weekend, under the guise of a work conference, I planned a getaway with Alex at a secluded cabin. A perfect escape, or so I thought. We were careful, or so we believed, unaware of the invisible eyes tracking our every move. Tom, driven by a gnawing suspicion, had taken a step I never imagined. The discovery of a GPS tracker on my car would have felt like a betrayal if it weren't for the mountain of lies on my conscience. Yet, oblivious to his sleuthing, I continued the charade, sealing my fate with every mile driven away from home. The serene isolation of the cabin became the stage for the unraveling of my double life. Tom, having followed the digital breadcrumbs, stood outside, the truth laid bare before him. The confrontation I had dreaded, feared, and secretly wished for, never happened. He left, a silent specter, taking with him the remnants of our marriage. Returning home, the air was thick with unspoken words. Tom's silence was a deafening verdict on the state of our union. I mistook his quiet for stress, too wrapped up in my own web of lies to see the chasm widening between us. The final blow came not with a confrontation, but with the cold, hard reality of legal documents. Tom had sought the counsel of a divorce lawyer, armed with evidence of my infidelity. The life we had built, the memories we shared, reduced to case files and court dates. This chapter of my life, a chapter I had never intended to write, was closing. The excitement and thrill that once fueled my actions now felt like ashes in my mouth. The realization that I had not only betrayed my husband but myself, was a truth I could no longer run from. The cost of my actions, a price too steep to pay, left me grappling with the ruins of a life once cherished, now shattered beyond recognition. The day Tom laid those divorce papers on the kitchen counter, my world didn't just crumble, it imploded. The photos, stark evidence of my betrayal, felt like a punch to the gut. I opened my mouth to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but the look in Tom's eyes stopped me. It was a mixture of hurt, betrayal, and a finality that left me reeling. "I've known for months," he said, his voice devoid of the warmth I once knew. That moment, the reality of what I had done, hit me harder than I ever thought possible. I had made my choice, leaning into the illusion of happiness with Alex, distancing myself from Tom both emotionally and physically. But standing there, faced with the tangible end of my marriage, I felt a profound sense of loss. The life we had built, the dreams we shared, all dissipated like smoke. The divorce proceedings were a blur of legalities, a dance of paperwork and signatures that stripped away what little was left of our union. Each meeting with the lawyers, each signed document, was a reminder of the irreversible damage I had caused. Anger, betrayal, and sorrow became my constant companions, emotions mirrored in Tom's eyes whenever our paths crossed. Moving out of our home, the home we had lovingly built together, felt like leaving behind a part of myself. Alex's promises of support and a future together rang hollow as I stepped into the uncertainty of my new life. His once endearing charm now seemed to evade the reality of our situation, his reluctance to discuss our future casting a long shadow over the initial thrill of our affair. Meanwhile, Tom sought closure in the most definitive way he knew. Selling our shared home, he moved to a different city, embracing a fresh start away from the memories and pain that tethered him to what we once had. His decision to start anew, to leave everything behind, underscored the finality of our split. The transition was anything but smooth. Living with Alex, I quickly began to see the cracks in the facade of our relationship. His commitment, once seemingly unwavering in the secrecy of our affair, now wavered under the light of day. Discussions about our future were deftly avoided, his promises feeling more like platitudes than pledges of a shared life ahead. As I navigated this new reality, the weight of my choices bore down on me. The freedom I thought I'd find with Alex felt more like a prison of my own making, each day a reminder of what I had lost. Tom, on the other hand, seemed to be finding his way out of the wreckage, building a new life far from the shadow of our failed marriage. The realization that I had not only lost my husband but also gambled away my chance at happiness for a fleeting affair was a bitter pill to swallow. The path I had chosen, once illuminated by the thrill of the forbidden, now lay in darkness, the cost of my actions a debt I would carry alone. The day Alex told me he never intended for us to be serious was the day my world stopped pretending to spin right. The truth hit me like a cold slap. Our arguments, the growing chasm of trust between us, it all led to this moment. I stood there, numb, as the reality of my choices laid bare the ruins of my life. In stark contrast, Tom was thriving. I heard through the grapevine, mutual friends who hadn't yet chosen sides or maybe just the curious ones, that he was a new man. Hobbies that he had set aside for our life together were now at the forefront of his existence. He had made new friends, immersed himself in a community that appreciated him, finding solace and joy in a life I was no longer a part of. I tried to adapt, to find some semblance of normalcy in the wake of my upended world. But the realization of my colossal mistake weighed heavily on me. The life I had once cherished with Tom, the years we spent building something together, seemed like a distant memory, a ship that had sailed without me. Reaching out to Tom was a desperate move, fueled by loneliness and a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a sliver of a chance for forgiveness. But that door was firmly closed. His number had changed, and every digital footprint of our connection had been meticulously erased. I was a ghost to him, a part of his past he had successfully excised. Alone and adrift, I faced the stark reality of rebuilding from scratch. The stigma of my actions clung to me, a scarlet letter that tainted every interaction. Friends who once shared our dinner table now offered me polite nods on the street, their eyes betraying the judgment they held. Financially, the divorce had left me teetering on the edge. The settlement, understandably skewed by the circumstances of our split, offered little in the way of a cushion. Each bill, each unexpected expense, was a reminder of the security I had squandered. And then there was Tom, who, despite hearing of my struggles through the whisper network of our once shared life, chose to remain distant. It was a decision I understood but couldn't help but feel as another nail in the coffin of our shared past. His healing process had no room for me, a fact that I had to accept as I faced the consequences of my decisions. The journey of rebuilding was daunting, marked by small victories and significant setbacks. The loss of my long-term relationship, the comfort and companionship Tom and I shared, was a void that echoed loudly in the empty spaces of my new existence. I grappled with the fallout of my actions, the realization that the grass wasn't greener, and the understanding that some mistakes carry a weight that lingers long after the dust has settled. The day I started sending out resumes was the day I fully confronted the wreckage of my past. Diving into job markets far removed from my comfort zone, I grappled with the harsh reality that my personal reputation had bled into my professional life. Each rejection email felt like a confirmation of my newfound status as a pariah. Meanwhile, Tom's life seemed to unfurl in stark contrast to mine. News of his promotion trickled down through the grapevine, a testament to his unwavering focus and dedication, a focus that had once been on us, on our life together. It stung, knowing he was thriving while I was floundering, but I couldn't begrudge him his success. He deserved it, especially after everything I had put him through. The weight of my decisions, the monumental shift in my life's trajectory, began to take a toll. Depression enveloped me like a thick fog, isolating me from the world I once knew. Friends and family, those who had stood by me through thick and thin, found themselves at a loss. I pushed them away, retreating further into my cocoon of guilt and regret. When Jenna told Tom about my state, his reaction was a mix of concern and detachment. A part of me had hoped for a sign of forgiveness, a glimmer of the connection we once shared. But his decision to maintain the distance was a sobering reminder of the chasm my actions had created. In a moment of raw desperation, I penned a letter to Tom. It was an outpouring of apology, a wish for his happiness, and a silent plea for absolution. I poured my heart out, knowing full well it might never mend the bridge I had burned. The letter, once sent, left a hollow echo in its wake, a final admission of my remorse. Tom's silence in response to my letter was the closure I hadn't known I needed. It was a silent affirmation of his need to move on, to heal without the shadow of our past looming over him. I respected that, even as it pained me to accept the finality of his silence. The decision to leave everything behind and start anew in a different town was born out of necessity rather than desire. I found a small apartment, its modesty a stark reminder of the life I once had. My new job, far removed from the career I had built, offered little in the way of fulfillment but provided a means to an end. In this new chapter of solitude, I confronted the full extent of my actions, the depth of the loss, and the crushing reality of Tom's absence. The journey ahead was uncertain, paved with small steps toward redemption and acceptance of the solitude my choices had wrought. My spirit, once vibrant and hopeful, now carried the scars of regret, a constant reminder of the love I squandered in the life I dismantled with my own hands.